we say God meaning that we depend upon God. I would say, one of the names of Allah is Al-Wakil, the one that you depend upon. So while I affirm that meaning that you have clarified, I will reject your wording. So now let's apply that to Father.
Wait.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
So can you be a Muslim and say that Allah is my rock?
No, you reject the wording. You reject that. I do not accept this idea of rock.
So was there ever a time where you can be a Muslim and you can refer to Allah as your father in the sense that he's your creator and sustainer?
In the time of the Israelites when they used that terminology and they all knew what they were talking about, yeah.
Okay, so yes, Allah was once a father and then now he's not a father. Is that correct?
Okay.
Was Jesus actually a Muslim? That's the explosive question a Christian apologist throws at Dr. Nasser. But underneath the surface lies a massive theological trap. Can Islam's own rules for God survive when applied consistently? If you're serious about mastering these debates and never getting caught off guard, hit subscribe right now. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Can this Muslim scholar successfully claim Jesus, or is it a logical dead end? Let's get into it.
He asked, what is a Muslim? Can you define that?
So there's linguistically, a Muslim is one who submits to God Almighty.
Okay.
Now, of course, you could say that Islam as a religion would be the religion of Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. So I understand that there is we can get into that in a moment. Is that what you want to clarify?
Yeah, basically, because what you just said, you said that you would define a Muslim as one who submits their will to God, but there's a lot of people who believe they submit their will to God, and you would say they're not Muslim.
Correct.
So when you say a Muslim is one who submits their will to God, you're talking about a specific God. You have a specific ideology of God. You can't bow to a statue and and be a Muslim. You can't bow to your mother and think that your mom is God and be a Muslim. I can't bow to Jesus, believe he's God, and I'm a Muslim.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's important for us to clarify what you mean by God when you say a Muslim is one who submits to God. That's specifically the God of Islam, the God of the Quran and the Hadith.
The all-powerful creator of the universe.
And just for clarification,
yeah.
Can someone be Muslim, submit themselves to God, but then not think that Muhammad was a prophet?
So after the time of the prophet, just like in the same way at the time of any prophet, you have to recognize the prophets that exist at your time or before you.
Okay.
Right? So now that we're living in this time, obviously the Prophet Muhammad came and established his whole religion, etc., the religion of Islam. So obviously you have to accept that. But at the time of Jesus, it was accepting the prophet Jesus. And at the time of Moses, accepting the prophet Moses, and so on and so forth. But all of them taught the same message, that God, the all-powerful creator of the universe, is one God.
Got it. So you have to accept that, you have to submit yourself to God, and you have to accept all the prophets to be Muslim.
Yes, correct.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so again though, submit your will to what God are you talking about specifically? Because when you apply this to the prophets, right? Obviously Islam claims Moses, Abraham and stuff like that. But the theology of who God is in the Quran, that's who you're talking about. It can't be anything out. Like for example, can you believe in a God? Can you believe in the prophets? Can you believe that God, the all-powerful creator, sent the prophets and believe in these prophets, believe in their message, but believe that God is a woman and be a Muslim?
Excellent. So I assume, let's go with Father first, right?
No, a woman.
Oh, is a woman? No, of course not. No, definitely
Okay.
not.
And why is that?
Because God is not a man.
All right. So you have a specific ideology of who God is.
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. So you have a specific theology of who God is. You have to believe in that specific thing, that specific ideology, in order to be a Muslim.
You have to believe that God is one and is not a human creation, not an idol, not a plant, not a man, not a human woman, not anything.
Can you believe that he's anything outside of what the Quran and Hadith tell you?
No, you have to believe in God as described in the names of Allah. Yeah,
Right,
attributes, the names, attributes of Allah.
Good.
Definitely.
So what we can do now here is we've got that foundation. Now let's apply it to Jesus.
Sure.
And let's see if Jesus had that theology. Does he teach, preach, follow, believe in the same God that we see in the Quran and the Hadith?
Excellent.
And so how would you demonstrate that?
So you guys are aware that I think it's Proverbs 18, I think it is, that says, Yahweh, you are my rock, right? Famous.
You said Proverbs 18?
I think so.
Can we?
Am I wrong with that? Or Psalms? Sorry, excuse me, Psalms 18. My bad.
Psalms 18?
My bad. I believe it's Psalms 18.
There's a few verses in there. That
Yeah.
says
So
it's a rock.
Yahweh, you are my rock, right? So what I would do in that circumstance, if somebody says, Yahweh, you are my rock, I would say, I reject that. I put a big X on the idea that God is a rock, like you said, because it goes against our theology. It is not defined in our names and attributes of God. I reject the idea of God being a rock. Now I assume that that person is going to say, wait, we don't believe that God is a rock either. So I'd say, okay, well then why would you call God a rock? They say it's figurative. I'd say, great. This is the important part. Figurative for what? So now we have to shift over to figurative for what? So we leave the literal meaning, and now we're shifting over here to this mystery box called the figurative meaning. And the moment we open that mystery box, I say figurative for what? And they say, well, we say God meaning that we depend upon God. I would say, one of the names of Allah is Al-Wakil, the one that you depend upon. So while I affirm that meaning that you have clarified, I will reject your wording. So now let's apply that to Father.
Wait.
Okay, sure.
So can you be a Muslim and say that Allah is my rock?
No, you reject the wording. You reject that. I do not accept this idea of rock. The moment you tell me, though, that I don't accept it either, I don't think of God as an actual rock. I say, well, what do you mean then?
Yeah.
And the figurative meaning is the one that you depend upon. I say that is the part that we agree about, not the rock.
So if they say that Allah is my rock, meaning that he's the one I depend upon, I stand upon him, he's my foundation, you would still reject saying that Allah is your rock?
I would not use that terminology. I use the terminology in the Quran.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So we
can go to Father now.
So now, as in terms of Father, I understand that the Jews, which exist till today, they would explain that, the Israelites, and Jesus was an Israelite speaking to an Israelite audience.
Yeah.
So if he's going to use language, we're going to ask, okay, what does this language mean? So whether it be the Jews before Jesus talking about Father as a creator, because oftentimes it says, he is my Father, our creator. That's a few times in the Bible. And so it seems to be Father in a figurative sense. Now, I know even after Jesus, 1 John 3:10, what does it say? It says, it's just describing that the believers are children of God and that the evil people are children of the devil. We're not talking about the devil giving birth here. We're talking about figuratively speaking. So the moment you clarify this and explain that, listen, culturally, when I say rock, that's within our culture. We know what we're talking about. I say, well, I'm not from that culture, so I'm going to use Islamic terminology that is universal. And as long as you clarify the meaning, then I got no problem with that. And so the same thing with Father. If somebody says God is our Father, I say, well, we don't use that language. And say, well, don't worry, we're talking within our context. It has a meaning. Figurative for what? If you say the one that is a creator, he is loving, he's going to do tarbiyah or build you up in such a way where you reach your max potential, that is Ar-Rabb. So he does tarbiyah. So these are all names of Allah, so we accept all of these meanings.
So is Allah a father then, in any sense?
Okay, no problem. This is why I don't usually talk with my hands so much, but I figured you'd try to, so maybe you guys can join me on this. We reject the literal calling, because
I said any sense.
So let me explain. So if you say it in a literal way, then obviously the idea of being a father is that you're having children, and passing on your nature is to pass on your independent nature. Now, the moment you create something that's independent, it's dependent. So now you have an independent dependent, it doesn't make sense. So we reject that notion of literal. But the moment you clarify that, like the Jews would, like the Israelites would, they would say, obviously we don't call ourselves literally the children of God. This is our culture, this is our figurative language. Figurative for what? You open that up, you see the mystery box, and you find certain meanings that are in line with Islam. We say, perfect, that's what we affirm.
So you affirm that Allah is a father in some sense.
Let's do it again. Let's run it back. I can see you're not getting it. I really am not. Check it out. No problem.
Yes, no.
Yeah, look, there's two sides. This side is the literal meaning. There's a big X on it.
I said any sense. So that includes metaphorical and figurative. Is he a father in any sense of the word?
I'm explaining it to you. I don't accept the word father.
Okay.
Good. Now, when you say it's figurative, since I reject the word, you have to define figurative for what?
No, I don't, because I said,
great, then
Dr. Nasser, any sense. That means any definition, any meaning, whether it's figurative, any figurative meaning, any metaphorical meaning. Is there any sense of father that you can apply to Allah?
So you refuse to define your terms, is what you're saying. So then
I don't have to. Look, brother,
yeah, sure.
When I say any sense, that means whatever you can think of and how you define father, think of it. Does that apply to Allah, yes or no?
Perfect. is God a rock in any sense?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes, he's our foundation.
He's your foundation. Okay,
Yeah.
so you
see how I can say yes?
So
Now,
you
your
believe
turn.
you believe that God is a rock?
I believe that Yahweh is my rock.
Figuratively?
Yes.
Figuratively, as in
Yes.
foundation?
I just said that.
With that definition.
I just
I
said
accept
it.
that definition as well.
Okay, good. So
I reject the word rock because I don't believe God is a rock.
then you don't believe, then you're not affirming what we're saying.
You really don't understand what I'm saying?
I do. Look, this is what you're saying.
I have trouble believing you're not getting it.
Let me say it. Let me still man your point.
Hold on, guys. Did you know that over 80% of people that watch these videos are not subscribed? And that's the best way to support this channel. So let's give the audience a second to subscribe. And if they want to financially support us, they could become a member. All right, now let's get back to the discussion.
Sure.
Your point is we reject the terminology, but we can extract a meaning that is correct or proper.
Not we can. Not that we can. That the culture does.
Bro, I'm talking to you. You just explained to me and broke down.
Let me help you out. Go ahead.
You just explained to me and broke down, and you emphasized how it's like, okay, I got to do this again. I got to do this again.
Yep.
I just repeated to you what you just said to me. You said, nope, that's just the culture. I'm talking. Look, a Muslim. You're Dr. Nasser, Muslim. Is there any sense in which the term father or meaning of father can be applied to Allah?
Good.
Yes or no?
Got it. Now, let's say I'm walking in the middle of, I don't know, some new forest. Okay, and I come across a tribe of people. And I don't know how they use certain terms. I know how I use it. And they tell me that God is a rock or a father or something else. Anything that does not comply with the names of Allah. Instead of me telling them just that, no, I know exactly how you mean it because I know what's in your head. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say, look, I know what I mean. Father is a word that has a meaning. It means that you're giving birth to somebody based on passing on your nature. It means that you have sexual or reproductive organs. So believe me, I reject all that. God does not have any sort of reproductive organs where he's having babies, okay? I reject all of that. Now, if they are the ones, not me, if they are the ones that want to clarify, we don't actually think of God as a literal father, making actual babies in that sense, I'll say you can go ahead and clarify what you mean. And the moment they use a definition that is in line with the names of God, I will let them know those are names of God in Islam.
Okay.
Why is that complicated?
All right. So the descriptions that you use, the meaning of father, let's say they use father in the sense of creator, sustainer. So you can affirm like, oh yeah, that's good. These are descriptions of Allah.
Yes.
So then can you then apply that and say, yeah, Allah, you are the father in the sense that you are my creator and sustainer.
So since I don't use those terms because I'm not from that culture, I will say, guys, I understand your words. I don't need to adopt your language.
That's not what I asked. I didn't ask if you need to adopt it. I asked, as a Muslim, can you be a Muslim and affirm that Allah is your father in the sense that he's your creator and sustainer?
As a creator, if you are using this term to strictly define God as a creator and sustainer, I will let them know I fully agree with those names while I'm not interested in your terminology.
Okay, so I'm being very clear.
But that was not good enough?
No, it wasn't. Because I'm not asking what
Could you give a yes or no answer?
Yes.
Is that possible?
Just really quick, because
I will not use that term, and once it's explained, I will affirm which parts of the explanation I affirm, and in terms of the literal wording, I am not interested in adopting your language.
Yeah,
Yes, what's wrong with that?
I'm just trying to move the conversation forward. I'm just trying to
So it's a no. It's a no. You cannot be a Muslim and affirm that Allah is your father, even in a sense that he's your creator and sustainer. Correct?
What?
You just said you can't do it.
You just shifted. You just said even in the sense
very specific.
No, even in the sense that you are using it in these definitions.
Creator and sustainer.
Yeah, so I affirm those definitions.
So do you
I'm not interested in using your terminology.
So this is why we're stuck here.
Yeah.
Because I'm not.
Are you seriously not getting this?
Yeah,
I get what you're saying, but I'm just
Okay, let me I'll make it real easy for you.
No, please.
Okay, don't want to let
Because I want you to know.
Take your time.
I think we all understand what you're saying.
Yeah, we all understand.
We understand what you're saying.
Go for it.
But what you're saying is not answering my question. I'm not asking what you're interested in using. I'm not asking if it's your preference to use this type of terminology. I'm asking, as a Muslim, can you affirm whether or not Allah is can you affirm that Allah is your father in the sense that he is your creator and sustainer? Can you, yes or no?
I don't use that terminology.
I didn't ask if you use it. Can you?
Can a Muslim do that?
Am I allowed to use that terminology?
As a Muslim?
Definitely not today, because we're not in that culture.
Okay, boom. Let's go with that. All right. Not today, you cannot.
Yes.
So was there ever a time where you can be a Muslim and you can refer to Allah as your father in the sense that he's your creator and sustainer?
In the time of the Israelites, when they used that terminology and they all knew what they were talking about, yeah.
Okay. So yes, Allah was once a father and then now he's not a father. Is that correct?
Okay, let me explain why this is
Break it down.
quite funny. So you understand very well that God was once a rock, but he's not a rock.
No. No, we affirm he's a rock to this day.
So am I allowed to continue my thought?
yeah. Because you misrepresented.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, well, if you misrepresent me, I'll just keep cutting you off or what?
I never misrepresented you.
Okay,
I'm sure you don't.
Okay, so here's how this starts. Dr. Nasser gives his definition of a Muslim, one who submits to God Almighty. Sounds simple, right? Almost too simple. And that's exactly what the Christian catches on to immediately, because within about 30 seconds, it's clear that's not the real definition at all. You can't just submit to God, you have to submit to a very specific version of God. Not a statue, not your mother, not a woman, not anything outside what the Quran and the Hadith describe. Nasser says it himself, laughing a little, because God is not a man. So already, before Jesus even enters the conversation, we've learned something important. This isn't a definition, it's a checklist. And once you know it's a checklist, you know exactly what's coming. They're about to run Jesus through it and see if he fits. Here's where it gets good. The Christian brings up Psalm 18, Yahweh, you are my rock. And Nasser's first move is total rejection, flat out. I reject the idea of God being a rock. No hedging. That's a real answer, and I respect that it's a real answer. But then, and this is the part that gets me every time I watch it, he immediately opens what he calls the mystery box, his own words. He says once you clarify that rock is figurative, meaning the one you depend on, that's fine, because Islam already has a name for that, al-Wali, the one you rely on. So the literal word gets rejected, but the meaning behind it gets absorbed into Islamic theology anyway. Sounds reasonable so far. Here's the problem. That's the exact same move he refuses to make 5 minutes later.
Because now they get to father. Same test. Is Allah a father in any sense? Not the literal biological sense. Obviously, nobody's arguing that, but any sense at all. Creator, sustainer, the one who raises you up. And suddenly the guy who just opened the mystery box for rock won't open it for father. He starts circling. I don't accept the word father. Fine. But that wasn't the question. The Christian isn't asking if he likes the word. He's asking if the meaning behind it, the same kind of meaning he just accepted for rock, applies to Allah in any sense whatsoever. And what you get instead is 9 straight minutes of dodging. I'm not interested in your terminology. I don't need to adopt your language around and around. At one point, the Christian just says it plainly, so you refuse to define your terms is what you're saying. And honestly, that's not an insult, that's just what was happening on screen. Here's the thing I want you to sit with for a second. If you've ever had a Muslim friend tell you we believe in the same God just without the Trinity, this is the conversation you needed to actually watch. Because what this clip shows is that it's not that simple. Islam doesn't just reject the doctrine of the Trinity, it has to actively police which titles God is even allowed to be called, and it applies that policing inconsistently. Rock gets through customs, father gets turned away at the door. Same kind of figurative meaning, different outcome. That's not a small technicality, that's the whole ball game, because if the line isn't consistent, then the line isn't really theological, it's just a word Islam refuses to use because Christians got there first. And then, this is the anchor moment. The one moment in this whole clip where the performance drops and you get something real. The Christian finally corners him on history. Not today, not in this culture, fine. But was there ever a time a Muslim could call Allah Father, even in the creator and sustainer sense? And Nasser says it, almost offhand, almost like he doesn't realize what he just gave away. In the time of the Israelites, when they used that terminology, and they all knew what they were talking about, yeah. That yeah is the whole segment. That's not a rehearsed talking point. That's a guy answering honestly for 1 second before he can catch himself. And the Christian doesn't let it go. Okay, so yes, Allah was once a father, and then now he's not a father. Is that correct? I'll be real with you, there was no clean way out of that one. None. He was a father, now he's not. Somebody removed a name of God from the approved list. That's the concession sitting right there on tape. Now, I want to be fair here, because a straw man doesn't help anybody. Nasser's underlying point that words carry theology and that Islam is trying to protect a very specific non-Trinitarian idea of who God is, that's a coherent thing to want to do. I get why he's doing it. He's not being dumb, he's trying to defend monotheism the way he understands it. And that's a real conviction, not just stalling for the sake of stalling. That's a fair hit, and I want you to actually feel the weight of it. Guarding your theology from corruption is a legitimate instinct. But here's how it actually falls apart, under his own rules. If rock survives the mystery box because the meaning fits, then Father has to survive the same box for the exact same reason, because the meaning, creator, sustainer, the one who raises you up, fits just as cleanly. He can't have it both ways, and when he was finally pushed hard enough, even he didn't have it both ways. He had it Christianity's way for one honest second before he remembered which side of the debate he was on. If your faith is solid but you've never had to defend it out loud, watch how this actually works. It's not about knowing every verse, it's about not letting somebody's rulebook change its own rules halfway through. And if you're the person watching this with doubt already stirring, maybe from a conversation just like this one you've had yourself, notice that the crack didn't come from the Christian being clever, it came from the Muslim scholar's own consistency giving out under pressure. That's worth something. And if you clicked on this expecting the Christian to lose, I get it, that happens plenty in these debates, but not here, not on this specific point. So here's the question I want you to actually answer in the comments, not just scroll past. If a name of God can pass through Islam's own mystery box as figurative and acceptable for rock, but the same test is refused outright for Father, is that a real theological boundary God actually drew? Or is it just a word Islam won't say because it sounds too Christian? Pick a side. I want to see it in the comments.